Welcome to working with spot color with Illustrator artwork out to PDF. Now this artwork is spot color. Let me just show you what you need to set up to test everything, because it's also overprinting and it's been set up with, as you see, die guides. There's bleed, there's fold marks, there's setting up artwork for embossing, stamp foil or force stamping, or spot gloss. Really, whatever you're doing, could be even a thermography pattern or whatever that's dropped on the top. So how do we set this up? Oh, by the way, we've also got layers here if I turn that on, and I can turn each of these layers off to just show you how they work, etc., right through to the base art there. Now, what we've got here is this bleed, which goes outside of the die cut. This will be a die stamp or a die line, which will be a guide to be made into a blade, which gets embossed or lasered into a wooden plate, and the knife is put in there and it's to cut through that shape. Now, one thing I've got here, it's a solid shape or line, meaning it will just sort of fall out. If you don't want it to fall out, we've got something like the fold lines, or if you're doing a perforation here, if this was printed, it would only cut where those visual areas of the stroke are. And that's great. Now we can also set up our fold line artwork, be it off the page like these registration marks, which just use registration, which can also act as a fold. Or if you want to work on the artwork itself, you can put these on another layer. I haven't put them on a separate layer to the base art, but essentially they are to the die guide. So we could easily strip it off to make that happen. It's really just showing you how to prepare artwork in a simple sense. So let me just go through and set things up. Now I need to see my artwork from the press perspective. I've got my print production here, but what you need to be doing is work with Acrobat and make sure you use print production. And then it'll appear over here. And we're doing print production, so of course we need that. And that's the main thing I'm worrying about at the moment, not worrying about printers marks and things like that, because we've already added in our own at this stage, and I'll show you how you set that up as well. But anyway, I'm coming up to my output here. So output preview, and you'll see things are changing now. This is definitely overprinting. Now I've got all these colors and I've got these layers. So let me just take through here. I want to get rid of all cyan, magenta, yellow and black, or process colors. We're working with Pantone colors, and also going to look at getting Pantone colors into the mix as well, using what's called ASE, or an ASE file, Adobe Swatch Exchange. Anyway, let's start off with here and we'll get this done first. As you see, all the artwork's here because we're not using any process colors or CMYK colors or trico and black colors. Basically, they're all optical mixing. We're using solid colors. And if I go and turn my guide off here, you see it disappears. Doesn't knock out a shape as well, so we want to make sure this is correctly prepared so that we'll just have a die guide, and basically it's actually having some bleed in here in case it's just fractionally off register when you do a die guide, so you make sure that this stays as you want, not letting a little white line appear or something like that. So on this side we've got all our layers as well. We're going to set up as layers, and all the different boxes are on the top. And because it's overprinting, they don't knock out or make holes with different areas. And I'll show you that and how that looks when it's in the Illustrator artwork. So this artwork is good to go. And as you see, no matter what colors I am using, in fact, if I turn all of these off and turn off the process plates here, no matter what, with any of the colors, if you have on or turn off, etc., you always get registration marks for each of the plates, because registration, when you use it as a color, is for everything, which is of course what you want. So I'm just going to close this for now and just look at the artwork in Illustrator. So I'll click back on here. Now we have separations preview panel. This is really important for us. So if I come under the window, and no matter what view you're looking at, we certainly want to go and use separations preview, and this comes out. This is the actual output colors we're using. This is the swatches we're using, and these are all basically, if I just bring that back up again, these are all Pantone colors as well. Just using a range to get this done. And of course there's the die guide that's going to be cut out in the middle. Now I wanted these to be overprinted and not knocked out. Now I want my outline for my die guide to definitely be overprinted. Essentially, otherwise it's going to make a knockout. What does a knockout mean? Well, just here in the overprint stroke, so let me close that and I'll bring it up. Window, come down here into what's called attributes, and at the moment the stroke is overprinted. So if I turn this off, and in actual fact if I turn my first color off here, and I see that's an overprint as well, and turn that off, you see that it's now solid. So when I come through and I just turn my colors off here, watch what happens. So I don't want CMYK at all, we're not using those, but the die guide, if I turn this off, provided I've got the overprint off, it's still on, and just click off like that, and now turn it off, see how it's making this knockout. Or with this shape here, if I take off my top color, it's making a knockout of the shape beneath it. So depending on what you want, if you want overprinting, make sure you set it up this way and it's going to guarantee the results. Also, when we put things together, we're going to work with layers here. So I'll just turn these base back on. And of course, notice no matter what color, again, the registration marks are there. In fact, if I go and click on this as a registration, which is just that shape, and I just come into my swatches up the top there, this, when I go to the strokes, essentially by default, it's invisible here, it's just registration. So make sure that registration is the color that it's selecting for that outline. So I don't want it to be a black line, it'll be on everything, so I'm just going to deselect that. But when you make the shape, in fact, let's just demonstrate that. I'm just going to delete it for the time being and show you how to do that setup when you want to do the artwork. You can do it with registration and make up all those edges for the cropping marks, but don't do that, it's too much work. I'm just going to come through to a simple rectangle tool here and do that once more. And I'm just going to drag that out like so. And I'm going to come through here and simply select from effects, we have registration, which is just under the effects here. Come down to, let's see, crop marks, all the way down there, and you're going to see registration, which is crop marks actually. So if I turn that on, see how it's made those crop marks, and of course I don't want that line there, and that disappears. And now I've made my own box, not having to export with turning all the marks on, but I've made my own. So I can just turn that and bring it around a little bit further, just to fit in that a little bit better. But here's my artwork good to go. And let's see, I want to go back, I'm going to leave that as a knockout, but I definitely want this line, this time, to be an overprint stroke. And that's good, but this is still going to be a knockout if I click on that. It's not overprinted. Okay, so I'm just going to go and save this file. Everything else should be good. And now just going to PDF, and now there was a little issue with what I did there. I'm just going to go back and show that, but let's just go and test the die mark there. Okay, see it's overprinted, but if I turn this one off, it's made the knockout. Now, little mistake that I made there, if I just come back to this file here, when I saved it as a PDF, this has saved the PDF. And I'm not working on the original AI file again. So you have to be careful just to close this, like I'll just close that, and always go and open up your AI file, because when you save it as, it will come as a PDF. So just be careful, like I made that mistake really easy, and then you actually go back to original AI file and it doesn't work. So that's just essentially setting up the art. Now we're just going to look at how we really bring in all these colors and work with spot colors, Pantone spot colors, when Adobe no longer has it. Right, let's go through and actually work with Pantone colors and how we get them. Well, just before I do that, you'll just notice here that I've just put in solid fill. Now what I mean by that is, for anything that's going to be die guide cut, it's a blade, but for a embossing it needs to be a block, and therefore solid, as for foil stamping, and also for spot gloss, such as over type, over photographs, where it's a transparent glossy effect that will just add to the print design that you don't really get in screen. So these are ways of putting that together. It could even be thermography or anything that's actually creating some sort of shape to have that additional color added or gloss effect. Anyway, let's just close this for now. What I want to do is just show you how we get through and put together our Pantone list, etc. So I'm going to go back to just a few files here, or just a nice couple that work directly for what we're doing for this exact project. Now, of course, you can use anything you want to output spot colors, any graphic design in, bring in photographs as well, but just for now, I just want to go to my Pantone chart here. Now, this Pantone chart was simply a PDF file which was opened into Illustrator. And as you can see, it's quite a big file. Now, these are not just the names of Pantone colors, these are Pantone spots. And just to show you that they're Pantone spots, let's come back up to the top. It's quite a long list, if you will. There might be some Pantone colors and a few additional effects that might not work solidly with this, such as gradients, etc. But for the most case, this works great. You do need a color book to ideally make sure you are getting the right print color, but nonetheless, this will solve your problems once you're client or you know exactly what Pantone color to use. So if you didn't have this, you have to go to Window and then come down to Extension. From the libraries here, you can go to your Pantone Connect, and then you can pay for the rights to have access and the plugin to get all those Pantone colors, which comes at a cost, of course. This method, you don't. So what I've got here is I simply just open this file, and if I come over to my swatches here, there indeed are all of the swatches. So what I need to do is just export this file into this same format just here. So if I just open that back up, simply all you need to do from your swatches is to export it. Now, just before I do that, I just want to show you that indeed you do need this because we don't have the Pantone colors. So if I just click down here, and I'm just going to go and open another library. Now it's just in the edge of the view here. In fact, what I need to do is come down here, and it's color box. Okay, so color box. So if I just bring in my file so we can actually really see what's going on here, and do that once more. So open library, color box, and we don't have any Pantone solid. We've just got this Pantone mix. If I click on one of those, for example, here's all these colors, and you see what the difference is? We just have these numbers, they don't correlate. And to know what a spot color is, we got this triangle with a little spot in there. These don't have it. Now we can turn these into a spot, but we need to know what these colors are, and we don't. So I'm going to close that, so it is really important. So anyway, with this one, I'm just simply going to go click on that, and down here we can open any file from here, etc. of course, but with the standard libraries. But what I want to do is I want to save it to an ASE file, Adobe Swatch Exchange file. This will save it as just an AI file. This is the one we want. So I click on this, and then I just locate wherever I want to save it. By default, it will go to our swatches, but I can choose anywhere I want, and I can retrieve it from there. Okay, so and that's all I did for the other one, and just save it. So I'm going to just close this file now and just show you what I mean by that. And I'm going to go just a new file. So here it is. I want to go to an intent, which is for print, because that's the output I need. And so it's print intent, more swatches here. I want to go to, let's see, an A4 size. So if I just scroll down here a little bit, or I'll just bring it down there a little bit. If it's not already there, just A4, I can click on that, like so, and I've got it in points. If I don't want it in points, just go and change it. Or you can set it up from preferences. So points, and I want for the UK type market or Australia, New Zealand, just centimeters. And there it is, A4, and I want it just to be landscape. So I can get it in there. So here's my file, and of course I've still got my swatches here, which are not the same swatches I had before. This is the brand new swatch set. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is going to get so confusing. So what do? We get rid of them. So we get rid of anything not used. So we're not using anything at this stage. So just click on this, come down here to select all unused, and just click on trash and go yes. I don't want the greys either. I'll click on that and go yes. Now I'm going to leave black and white, which of course is the paper stock, registration, which will be on every plate that needs to register up, so we never get rid of that. And of course none, because we want to chop holes and things and whatever, so leave those there. Now I leave the black there by default anyway. We don't actually need that, but I think it just comes in handy. So let's see and bring in this Pantone spot color. So I'm just going to simply go from here, and what I need to do is just come down to Open Swatch Library. Now it's just out of view on the system, but I just keep going all the way down and you'll see Other Library. So if I click on Other Library, all I need to do is locate where that swatch was. So let me see if I can find it. I think it was in spot color here, and indeed it is. This is what I want, whatever you named it as. So I click on that and I go Open. So this is just a swatched library that you can use like any other color, but you see the spots because I've got the triangle and the dot. And they're Pantone colors, so if I can hold over and it tells you what it is. Still a bit confusing, so I'm going to click on the drop down menu here, and I just want to go to smallest. And there's all my colors, indeed what I want. Now of course I have to know what the client wants, so I'm just going to click a few colors. So I'll just get this color, let's see, hexadecimal, Pantone 106, oh I definitely want that, and here it is. Just by clicking on it once, I'll get Pantone Reflex Blue. See, that's a great color, so I'm going to click on that, and see, I might get something, oh, let's see, a nice little more orangey, reddy color, whatever, and I'll click on that, and there it is. So I can just close those for now, and I'll just pull this back. So to show you indeed we're working with spots, and here we are with the right numbers, that you can relate to the book, the Pantone books, etc. So I'm just going to make this just a little bit bigger so you can see it, just Command 0 to fill the screen. And I'm just going to go through here and just color up. Oh, actually, I'll get rid of the outline, we don't want that. And I'm just going to create a few shapes. Oops, actually maybe not a line. I'll stay with a nice little box, any shape you want, just to show the purpose like we did before. Then another one, and then another one. And I'll bring it back my swatches here, and I can just click on, see that color, go to the pointer tool, click on that and that color, and there we are. And I can see that if I bring up my best friend, which is important for print, separations preview, just turn on the overprint there, and indeed there's all my colors. I'll get rid of CMYK, and they're certainly there, and of course I can turn them off like so. And as you can see, these are knockouts. So if you don't want them to be knockouts, we can just simply click on, which I can even highlight all of them, but really I just want to say make this as an overprint over that top one, bring up my attributes, which is just there, and just click on overprint, and there it is overprinting that color. I might just do it to that one as well, overprint, so we definitely see it. Those colors mix up. Of course, making sure that on view we're on overprint here. Now one other thing is I just want to bring in one more color, and it's what I'm doing when I basically put in my die guides or a plate embossing box, such as embossing or doing an overgloss or something like that, or full stamping. But I'm going to do a die guide here, so I'm just going to quickly go through and make a simple shape. So I can do it with my outline view by just clicking here and make a shape. And I'm going to do that, make sure you're in outline view, which I'm not, and I'll just go and join it up. No, I won't join up. I'm just going to stop just before, and I'm just going to turn this back to the other side and make sure indeed it's the line here. But what I want to do is I want to use a special color, which is not going to be printed, but it's representing the block embossing, or in this case the die guide line. So I'll come back to my pointer tool, and I'm just going to click on that and just come back to my colors here, and I'm going to add one more color. So I'm going to come down to the bottom and make sure that's clicked. It doesn't have to be selected, but I'm just going to do that anyway to change the color. Click on here, and I've gone to CMYK mode because I like working with this one, but it's really up to you, because I want to make sure I've got a solid cyan, no other colors except for cyan, 100%, and make sure that's a spot color, not a CMYK mix. just because it says CMYK here, this is determining what it is. And I'm going to call this color up here just dye guide, which is going to be perfect for what I'm doing for this one. So there it is, dye guide, and that's the dye guide color, and it's just the dye guide color there, and here it comes up. So the printers know that it's certainly not a color, it's my dye guide. And the other thing is I do want to have a few little gaps in there. So a good way to actually put the gaps into it is you can just select on your line, and you can go to the scissor tool, just under the razor tool there, and I can just go click, click, and just go and get that pointer tool there, and or just deselect it. Now that's probably too much of a gap. What you want is just tiny little gaps there which will hold it in place. Otherwise when they do the dye guide cutting, it'll cut straight through and it'll fall out. If you just want to hold in place, you can, just like doing a perforation, you can just leave a couple of little bits, just hold in. It can be smaller than that actually, just to give you a quick guide. So basically there you go, we've set something up and really good to go, just like the artwork we did before. Okay, so let's just finish this off with our output and a little bit of registration. So an easy way to do that is sort of just like the initial artwork before, is I can just start with a box. This is where it's going to sort of contain everything, that even though it's going to be pushed out with the dye guide later on. Not a great design nonetheless. So all I've done is done a box. I haven't worried about what color it is, because I simply go up to my effects here and you see crop marks, which will do the registration. So there's the registration, and I just don't want this fill at all, or this outline, by getting rid of it. And what it's going to mean is this box is going to be on every single page or plate, if you will. I might just change the size of that just a little bit to get it in there so it fits. As I said, it's not a great design for this one, but just really want to look at the principle of it, putting it together. Now the other thing to do is what we did earlier before. I think it's a lot easier when we output it with some layers, and I'm going to make this one extra simple. So if I go to the layers, here's just one layer, but what I want to do is just click on certainly this dye guide artwork to make it really clear by just clicking on that, and make sure I select all of the dye guide and just add a new layer, call it dye return, and just make sure with it selected you just move that little dot up and it's now on that layer. And of course this one down, I'm just going to call that art. So really do label your layers correctly, and so essentially we're good to go, bad design or not. So here's the registration. This will be on every plate. Let's do a quick test before we go through here. So our good friend again, color separations, and there we go. No matter what colors I show, as long as we've got one plate selected, you always get that registration coming up. So it will just work on everything. So we certainly want to have that, because we do need to line things up. So we know this is working okay. So I'm just going to go, I'll save, and I'll just call this into my computer. And I'll just call this a test one, because it certainly is only just a test. And I will save it as a PDF file just to carry on that same format again. So just go save as, because we're in Illustrator. Save to my machine here. This is AI at the moment, and it'll change to PDF. We always want to go back to our original AI file. So I'm certainly going to change this to PDF now, and I'll just save that. And I'm going to go from Illustrator default to high quality print. Always change this because I want my layers from 5 to Acrobat 6. So it gives me the layers, and now I can access that. And by default, we'll go into high quality print. You'll see that it actually says 300 dpi here. So I'll just make sure I haven't lost anything. So general again, that looks good. Acrobat 6, we're good to go. And I'm just going to just save that now, just for one final test. And here we go. And it's already open to the press format, so I'll just get rid of my cyan, magenta, yellow and black colors. And there we go. And I've got my dye guide And of course I've also got my layers, in this case just 2. So easy, 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 and just make sure you check it this way and you'll get the results. Just need the good design. So I've got some 1-bit images which are just black and no color whatsoever, no background. So these are 1-bit, right through to 24-bit, which is 8 plus 8 plus 8 RGB. 1-bit is just 1-bit, literally, just black or white, and it's made into halftones, no tone whatsoever. So let's just bring that in and you'll see what I mean. And this is really easy to work with existing colors. So if I just go File and Place, making sure that all the artwork is in the same folder, and I'm just going to use this dot image and just place it in. And I'll make a size here. Great, so here it is. And I might just go to my layers as well. And I've already created an extra layer, which will be for images. So please keep your layers sorted. It makes it a lot easier. And the die could possibly still be at the top, but I might just bring that up the top like so. And I'm just going to lock this one and just lock the art. I'm just working on the images layer at the moment. And of course with that, if I click any of my colors, I'll go to say a light color. There it's changing it, just making sure you stay with the fill. It just changes it 1-bit. And of course I can play with several layers using this format, which is really good to do. Make sure it's always a link file available. And I'm just going to go File and place another one. But this time I'll just deselect that and do it once more. And I'll go Place, and this time I'm going to place a line image. So just making sure you're in Illustrator, which I am. And this time dot was first, line is second. So I'll place that, and I'm just going to move this off skew a little bit, see how that goes. And so it's definitely coming different, and I can use any of my colors, again making sure I'm using the fill color, not the line color. And with that, of course, I can also go through, and if I've got my attributes up, which is File here, making sure Attributes, and I can overprint that, and it will overprint if I select on that one, making sure again we do have the overprint view here. So here it is overprinting, so we get, you know, a more unique way of putting the color together. And let's say if I wanted to send this to the back, I can just simply go to the object and just go to Arrange, and I'll send that to the back. So it's now at the back, and maybe I'll overprint this top one as well, and we can see that that's overprinted. So if it gets in the way of the images, I might just move both of these out of the way and unlock back on my layers here, and basically I can just unlock this one. I'm going to lock that one so I can easily select it. So that's why layers are so much better, just so we can see what's going on there, and then go back and unlock it, and back to my pointer tool, back onto this layer, unlocked, and there you go. So we can really play around with mixing and matching, and at any stage, of course, I can change it to another color, and making sure that that's selected. Turn that on, making sure we're not in the separations, but actually in the colors. Easy to do. And we'll just go up to the swatches once again. If those swatches are not visible there, just remember you can also access it at any stage just from down there. And I'm going to click on this color, and so I can mix it up that way. So I've got my artwork in here, and of course it works great. So anything I turn off and on, it will work, and then I can output to PDF again. But what about when I want to use something like duotones or tritones, where you have mixed color? So first of all, we need to go to Photoshop in order to bring this in, and this is going to work slightly differently. So let's go and create Photoshop and open that up, and I'm going to work with a full color image. I've actually made one up already as a tone, but I think we'll go through and just show you how that works. So I'm going to open this one, and make sure you open it into Photoshop. So I just drag that, and I'll take it down into Photoshop. And we're good to start the process off. Right, now with a full color image, let me just show you why this will not work. I'm going to go to Image, RGB, red, green, blue, 24-bit. I could be in CMYK. lab color, whatever, but it's not going to work because it's bringing in basically processed colors. Let me show you why. If I come to my channels, it's multiple channels here, red, green, blue with a composite. That's 8 plus 8 plus 8, 24-bit. Really, we can't work with that. We need to work with either 1-bit or basically 8-bit and change the color. So to show you how this works, I'm simply going to go to mode and I'm going to go through hand grayscale, discard the color, and as you can see it's still transparent, but I'm going to save this as a grayscale image by just going save as and make sure we go to, I'll call it gray, and can't save it as a ping because that's a RGB format. I need to actually come down here and stay as Photoshop to enable it to have all that information. So gray Photoshop file. So if I go save and I'll just go OK. So there it is saved. Now I'm just going to minimize that for the time being, and I want to come back to just the Illustrator file here. So here we are here. Now watch what happens when I paste this in or place this in. So I'm going to look for the grayscale image. So there's gray. Now this is 8-bit. The others were 1-bit. This is 8-bit. So I place this in and I'm just going to drag it to a size. And there it is. Now the problem is that it's come in as black and white. So if I click on that, that's an extra color. So I can still, with this grey format, choose any other color by just clicking on like so, and therefore it changes. So that's pretty good. In fact, I can even send that to the back by, if I just go to my arrange order, and I'm just go send backwards, and there it's back beneath the line. So I can add all sorts of crazy effects in this way. So I'll just undo that. But what I want to do is I want to do more coloring within the file itself. Now, if I just go back to Photoshop, now the problem with this is that any colors introduced are going to use RGB, but we do have a way of bringing in spot colors. Now, if I was to use a spot color at this stage, I'm going to go through and use a special feature just under, make sure in Photoshop view, image, mode, and because I'm in grayscale, I get access to duotones. So duotones, you can have duotones, which is 2 colors, just monotone, or even quad tones, and bring them all up. But as you see, in this case it's working with 1 color, and it started off with the tritone here, but essentially they're blank and we need to fill them in. So I'm just going to keep this really simple, just go to duotone, but it can work up to 4 colors, seeing we're working with 3 colors for this file. And what you do is you click on the first color here, and sure enough I can get a Pantone color, which is cyan, which is basically one of the 4 key spots, right through to the key color black itself, which I don't need to do because we've already come with the grayscale. But I can click that color and it works fine. When I go into the second color here, what I want to do is, great, I can use some of these Pantone colors. And again, the same problem and same color issues as we've got in Illustrator or in design. How do we work with spots? Well, this is where we need to bring our own colors in. So let me show you. First of all, we have to come back into our system here, and we have to load those spots in the same way, or very similar to the way we did it in Illustrator. So to do that, I'm just going to cancel this for the time being, and I'm going to come up to my drop-down menu. I might need to just move this screen in so we can see what's going on here, and I'm going to make sure I'm in swatches. So just on here, and if we simply just scroll down here, we can go import swatches. You guessed it, here's our Pantone color file here. So I'll go open. And if I just scroll down there it is. If I open that up, we can see all of our colors, our Pantone colors. Now, it's not quite so easy as that. What we have to do is work out what the colors, just like we did before, what we need, because it's going to work quite differently with this file. In fact, I'm going to bring this in as a new file to demonstrate clearly on how this works. So number one, I'm just going to go up and get a few colors here that I want. Now I can drag this down so I can actually see some more, but I'll leave this in a small view just purely to show you how this works. So I'll just get a few key colors there. And I'm going to go back to my duotone. So I'm just going to stay with, say, 2 tones to begin with, just to make it nice and simple. Here it's retoning with all the colors, but what I want is it's come with the colors which I had in by default, and I can't get them any other way. It's just simply because I had it that way. Overprint is already turned on as well, which is great. So I'm going to go back just to my monotone and start off again, and then go back to duotone. So I want to bring in and control my own colors. So I'm going to use something that's here. So now what I do is I can't still access any of these other colors, as you see. So instead of using the spot color feature here, I just go to the picker. And with that, I'm still picking the wrong color. I don't know what the Pantone colors are. So I just bring my picker over here and I just click on a couple of key colors. So I want this color, and there it is. So it's Pantone Reflex color and it's changing. Now you'll notice any of these ones that I'm bringing in like so, that essentially it's not changing the name here. So what I would have to do is go through, and once I get that color, is change it to that number. So I'll just click on, say, yellow now, just to show you again. Here we're changing the color. It's definitely not Pantone cyan, it's Pantone yellow. So just for the sake of this one, I'm just going to go OK, and then I can just go Pantone yellow, and I put that same number in there so I know what that color is. And basically that one's in place. Then I'll click on a second color here, and this time I want to get, let's see, Pantone Reflex Blue, or if I want to actually see some other colors, you can move them down and move them around, but essentially get your color views in there. And the second color, I think I'll choose, let's see, green. Okay, so if it didn't come out there, I just need to go through here, pick it, and then go through and just click on that color. And there you go, and there it's in there. So Pantone green in this case, Pantone green U. So I'll just go OK, and I'll just write the same thing in. Pantone green in this case, and I go OK. Now I've got my file here. Now what I can also do is, while I'm there, I might just go back to that once more and just go into the mode and duotone. You can also play around with curves, just like any Photoshop type effect. So I might just click on that, and I can just change the curves to anything I want, just to bring it to life, get that good old S curve, or the other way around until I'm happy with the look and feel, and I'll just go OK. So all these curves exist in the same format, and I'll go OK. Now what we're also going to do with this file is that we might want to share the file or share the style. So one extra thing I'm going to do with this one is come back again to the image, and I'm going to go to duotone, and once we get this, we can get this little cog, and it says save preset. So I'm going to save that preset, and I'll call it today test, just so I know what the numbers are. And I just need to save in that same folder, so I've got everything there, and it's a special Adobe color format. So I'm just going to save that, and I'll just go OK. So at any stage, what I can do with this is I can go through, and I'll just go to my mode again, duotone, and I'll just discard all of these colors. So I'll just say go to monotone, and I've lost all of these ones, and might even change that to something else. And I think, well, what was it? Let alone what the curve was there. So at any stage, you can come back through here, and I can load this preset. And so we just need to load this file here, the duotone format, and open it up. And here it is coming back in. So I'll just go OK. And now I'm just going to go save as. And I still leave it just as a Photoshop file, but I'm going to call this just Duo, so we can see how this works. And go save and OK. And I can just close this file for now. So you'll notice within this one, we've got particular color formats. Now the difference with the way this file is it's going to bring in its own colors. So watch what happens with this. We have to control everything when we're working with duotone, tritone, etc. The colors are dictated by the Photoshop file. So we can't use these colors if we'll be adding extra colors in, even if they're the same name. So what I'm going to do is just go File, and I'm going to go Place, and just watch what happens to our colors there. So just in this format here, the one we're looking at is the duotone, and I'll go Place, and see the colors are coming there. So it works the same, but it's bringing those colors in because we can have specific colors to make it work. So therefore, what I have to do is control everything by bringing the colors in and then coloring up the systems here so they only work with those colors. You can't do it first in Illustrator. It must be brought in with Photoshop. So with that, all you have to do with any of these elements that are in here is simply just go through and change those colors to anything that's made out of these particular colors. And if I just move that out of the way, and it should therefore work. So I'll move this out of the way as well. Oh, these ones might be locked at the time, but you can see how these colors have been reflected here. So I'll just go back and unlock them once more and unlock that. I'm going to leave my die guide, and that I want that to stay, but anything else here will need to go back and just reflect the spot colors that are here. And these will be recorded essentially, and all the other ones I don't want will simply just disappear. So that color, change it to there, and you see how those colors are changing. So bring in your duotones, the colors will come with you, and those are the colors you have to stay with when you're working with spot colors, all controlled from Photoshop. So thank you for watching.